PANADO Pediatric Syrup 5ml sachets. They're really convenient to pack and easy to use, so you're always prepared for pain and fever, anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. As always, so good to join you at the start of a brand new day. It's a Tuesday morning, and right now we're about to tackle a topic that has been very much a part of my everyday life. And now we know that, of course, parents want to protect their child from getting sick, and whether it's a cold or a flu or whatever it may be. However, children come into contact with other children on a daily basis at school, making them more vulnerable and more at risk for contracting a cold or a flu. And so this morning, Professor Claudia Gray is here to give us some insight and share some advice on what to do. And you're right on time in terms of my schedule right now, because my 4-year-old little boy just seems to never get well, Professor Gray. And I sometimes think, am I doing this parenting thing right? But as we were talking just before this, the official start of the segment, it's quite normal, right?
Absolutely. I think there are a couple of things in the background that are very important to say up front.
Mm-hmm.
The first is that, you know, children have an untrained immune system.
Yes.
To get to full adult immunity, you need to train. It's like training for a marathon, so you need to do some practice runs.
And we all know how tough that
unfortunately, those practice runs are exposure to viruses and getting the virus in full force the first time or the second time you meet it. So that's the first factor. The little immune systems are still quite immature, so every virus they encounter, they will respond to it and get snotty and headachy and feverish, etc. The second thing to know is that the normal number of infections for a little one, say for the first 3 to 4 years of life, is up to 12 infections per year, which means that on average you can get 1 a month, and every time you get a cold you can cough and splatter for 2 to 3 weeks. That's why it seems that little children are always sick, and that's within normal limits in most cases.
Yes, because then depending on how untrained that immune system is, the frequency can
And as the immune system gets more trained, so if you have a 4 to 6-year-old child, that becomes about 6 infections a year, and older kids or adults maybe 2 to 5 infections a year. And thirdly, obviously children in a confined space all on top of each other, they don't have personal space things like we do.
No,
they are slobbering and kissing and sharing toys and sharing ideas and sharing respiratory droplets. And of course, I always call it the pot of snot that you walk into when you walk into a creche. And if you understand that most kids are sick most of the time, there will always be at least half the class transmitting a virus. So I think it's very understandable that our young kids get sick most of the time.
I think there was a collective group of creche principals who went, a pot of snot, how dare you?
Well, I'm a pediatrician, I could call it what it is.
Talk to me about some of the main symptoms of colds and flus, because I was thinking at some point, is this an allergy? Or is this a full-on infection? Or is it just a little cold that I don't need to worry too much about? How do you distinguish between the symptoms?
I mean, you make a very good point with allergies, and I'm a subspecialist allergist, so I spend a lot of my time working out if kids are sick or allergic, so they can mimic each other. You're quite right. But when we talk about colds and flus, we're actually talking about groupings of symptoms. So there's not just one virus that causes a cold. There are a couple of viruses that tend to cause cold-like symptoms. And apart from the sort of the quintessential influenza virus, there are other viruses that cause flu or flu-like symptoms. When we talk about a common cold, it's usually milder. It's that snotty nose, runny nose, maybe low-grade fever, but we're not talking about 38 degrees fevers here, just low-grade fever, a little bit under the weather, a bit lethargic, a bit off food. But actually, when we have a cold, we can kind of carry on.
Yes.
And that's how you see a common cold. You feel a little bit snotty and head coldy, but actually you can function with a bit of TLC. But when we talk about flu, it's a more serious viral sort of manifestation, often fevers and chills and myalgia, which means muscle ache, so the body is paining. The fevers can go up and down, especially in the first few days of the virus. And then for many days afterwards, even when the fever settled, you can still have a sore throat, a runny nose, a sinusitis. And of course, it's important to know that most of these are self-limiting, but some can cause complications. So some kids or adults end up with sinus or ear infection or even a chest infection.
Now, earlier on, you did refer to some of the factors that lead to the transmission of these viruses among children. Of course, the pot of snot and the environment and so on, and the untrained immune system. Are those the key factors as to the high frequency of transmittability, or are there other things, and perhaps that could lead you into talking about some of the precautions that parents could take to ensure, or as best as they can, try to ensure the health of their child.
Yeah, so those are the key factors. And of course, every virus has a slightly different infectivity rate. Some viruses, like the flu virus, on average, you'd infect 1 or 2 other people. With the very, very catchy strains of COVID, like the Omicron, every person who has it is going to infect 3 to 5 people. So every virus has a different transmissibility. How can we avoid it? Well, I think to be practical, we can't prevent it completely. So parents need to know that if they are sending their kids to creche or school, it is a fact of life. And it's almost a necessary evil to train the immune system. How can we take precautions? Well, I think the basics are super important. So the basics would be good nutrition, getting enough food, getting enough sleep, antioxidants, vitamins, having a full diet, and not overstretching kids into too many activities, because that stresses the immune system. And then to keep your kids home if they're obviously sick, especially the first 1 or 2 days of the illness, because that's when we'll transmit the virus in a more efficient way. Once you've been sick for 3 or 4 days, you're normally not that contagious anymore.
Oh, I wanted to just, I am going to ask the question. Maybe it's a yes or no question. Flu vaccination for your child, yes or no?
Yes. Simple as that.
As simple as that.
So, you know, we definitely would recommend, not every single virus has a vaccine. So you will see that worldwide they are chosen to target those diseases that can cause complications, such as influenza. And absolutely, to me, it's a no-brainer, especially since COVID days. Every single year I've sort of had flu vaccine clinics in my practice, and my own kids get it every year. They know, they line up in a row and mommy comes and jabs them. So absolutely, yes. What we can prevent the severe form of, we should do.
Thank you very much, Professor Gray. And to all parents out there, I hope that you do feel empowered, and anything that you've discovered, learned here, do share with fellow parents and friends and family to ensure that they are as prepared as they can be.
Being a parent can be challenging, but stepping out is when things get real complicated. That's why new PANADO Pediatric Syrup 5 ml sachets are here to make the job easier. They're really convenient to pack and easy to use, so you're always prepared for pain and fever, anytime, anywhere. PANADO, a dose of care.